Hey guys, it's me again doing my review for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. I gotta say, first thing I'm gonna say is that yes, I did read the books. No, I did not get up this far. I got up to about 5, and then for some reason just stopped reading them. I think I just don't like it to finish a book series. I think that's the problem, but whatever the reason may be, hey, I w- the other first thing I'm going to say is that when I came out of this, I was actually kind of depressed because I realized, this is the end of an era. This is the end of a decade. Our generation is a Harry Potter generation. There's no other way around it. You could say, what about Twilight? No. No. This is the Harry Potter generation. It took 10 years for them to just finish the films. It took them, uh, uh, about that long to it took J.K. Rowling about that long to finish this book series, and now what was the announcement? I think it was an MMORPG that she was coming up with, but it almost kind of depressed me to think that you know this is it. This is the end. I mean, this movie it was it was awesome though. Somebody else pointed out, and I'm gonna say who. Doug from That Guy with the Glasses pointed out. If you've seen Lord of the Rings, you're kind of going, watch Lord of the Rings much? Which I didn't remember he said that till the subtitles popped up when he who should not be named is talking to his snake. It's like, I kind of preferred it when I didn't know what they were saying to each other. Here, that's how it's always been. Like, why are you suddenly having subtitles there? And you don't really have it later. It's like you guys decided to do it, didn't like it, and forgot to take it out. Though, the beginning did remind me a lot of Lord of the Rings. I'm not 100% sure why, but it did remind me a lot. And by the time they got to the battle at Hogwarts, it just reminded me a lot of Lord of the Rings. But it's not a bad thing. It looks like it drew influence from it, but it still was its old thing. And at least enough influence where you kind of think, yeah, that looks like Lord of the Rings, but it's Harry Potter, so who the hell cares? It's Harry Potter. Um, this movie went by a lot faster. Like, I actually sat in my seat in the theater going, wait a minute, they had to find how many more Horcruxes? This is going to take forever, and it actually didn't. They went through them pretty fast. They went through the whole thing pretty fast, and it wasn't that it was rushed. It felt like it hit every mark it needed to hit. Again, I haven't read up to this book, so I can't really say, but it felt like it. And the the writing, which no doubt came directly from J.K. Rowling's original work, just sometimes it was just moved me to tears. Like the whole thing with Snape. Like, I thought Snape liked Lily because she was the only one nice to him when he was going to school. Turns out they kind of like met each other right before she went to Hogwarts, and it was this whole thing between them, which kind of it made you feel a lot more sorry for him. And there were other things in there that you kind of just got teary-eyed over. Which, once again, I'm sorry for not saying warning spoilers at the beginning of this, but if you were listening to my Captain America review or read any of my blog reviews, you know I have a couple of spoilers trickled here and there. And, like, I particularly like the fact that Neville did something, and, like, something big, too. Like, I don't want to exactly spoil it, but I'm actually thinking that if I actually do a review show on it and this collaborative website, I'm hoping it will get done, and that I'm going to have a Harry Potter review every week leading up to the last bit. And at the last bit, I'm actually gonna see if Doug wouldn't mind me borrowing one of his jokes with Chuck Norris, where it shows a picture of him, fireworks are going, motherfucker Chuck Norris! And I wanted to do that with Neville, because the amount of bamfness Neville had in this one scene alone was just... Why wasn't Neville the hero again? Like, it seemed Harry didn't even do as much as he should have. Like, okay, Ron destroyed one, Hermione destroyed one, Neville destroyed one, Harry destroyed one, and he who shall not be named accidentally destroyed one. Actually, not accidentally, kind of on purpose, but I feel like I'm spoiling too much if I say, if you don't know already, you're kind of going, huh? If you do know, she's like, you guys are just like, why is she mentioning that? And I'm sorry, but it does feel like Harry should have been doing more, but I guess maybe he didn't do as much in the book, and that's why. Hey, maybe J.K. Rowling felt like, it's not all just Harry. There's Hermione, Ron, Neville, every other character in here. Going back to the whole thing though, of this really reminds me of Lord of the Rings. When they got to Ravenclaw's daughter, the Grey Lady, it's like, she reminds me a lot of Arwen. It's like, and we get to see Dumbledore again, which, yay, Dumbledore! Here, it's like, Gandalf much? I mean, he already kind of reminded people of Gandalf, or vice versa, but it kind of like spiked there about, which, if you don't know, already, prepare to enter the theater or leave the theater having done some amount of crying if you actually cared about some of these characters. There was one point where I saw Hagrid tied up and I'm like, you leave Hagrid alone. You've taken too much from me. You will leave Hagrid alone. Which, the resurrection itself doesn't even make sense to me, and I can't believe I just said that. I promised I wasn't going to spoil it, but it does bother me because the thing that's supposed to make sense for his resurrection, he dropped it. It looked like he left it. So how does that work? It kind of feels like, I know J.K. Rowling changed the ending. It kind of felt like she didn't go back far enough, and now it kind of just doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's because otherwise it would make perfect sense. But which actually makes me think that Neville was supposed to be the hero in the end, because I don't know, maybe Harry was originally supposed to just be dead, and like originally Neville was supposed to be the one to destroy him, kind of leading you into this whole, okay, which one was actually the chosen one thing, which would have been interesting, but I don't even know if that's what she was originally going for. I don't know what was in that original finished script before somebody spoiled it and it pissed her off so much, which, if she's upset at me for spoiling, I'm sorry. There's just certain points I just have to mention. I particularly was confused though, having not had read up to this book anything dealing with Albus Dumbledore's siblings. It's like I felt like they could have handled that better for people who haven't read the book, which a good chunk of the audience haven't read the book. They've only seen the movies and they just want to know how it's not that they just want to get it over with. It's just like, oh boy, how does this all end? And like that seemed to be what the hype in the theater was, from my understanding. And that I would be shocked if it were any other thing. Like, okay, if you're not hyped to see this, or you don't want to know what happens to these characters, why are you even here? Granted, I think all of us went with the free movie tickets, so it was very little risk involved, which, you know, uh, yeah, that is a good movie to see, but you should still be invested in these characters by now. We're up to it. This is the 8th movie. If you're not invested in these characters by now, what are you doing here? Um, but yeah, it, it was an over 2 hour long movie, but it didn't really feel that. It felt more like it was a hour and a half, which it's not because it rushed anything. It's kind of more like the pacing and the amount it gripped you into it was so well done. It just felt shorter, which is good in a 2 hour movie. It shouldn't feel like it's dragging on. But really don't think I have much to say. I'm sad it ended, but I loved this movie. Well, yeah, I love this movie. And imperfections and all. If you were ever a fan of the series, just go out and see it. You have to know what happens next if you're ever invested. If not, it's not that non-fans wouldn't enjoy this. Like the guy I mentioned earlier, he was not a fan of the series, but he did like this movie. But if you're not emotionally invested in these characters, don't bother. Like, again, there should be several moments in this theater where you are in tears because of what's going on. And don't act like, oh, that's just J.K. Rowling killing. This is war. This is what war looks like. People die. A lot. So, before I actually finish it, I almost forgot that there was this one scene where they're in Gringotts Bank, and is this meant to be like a a theme park ride or something? Like, this is what they want to do for a theme park ride? Because I don't remember the Gringotts Bank being this annoyingly elaborate and kind of a thrill ride. I just remember it being a straight shot, row after row of just vaults. Just vault after vault after vault, and only their keys would open it. I mean, in the first movie, like, it was also holding something special, and it didn't nearly have this much. It's like guarding it, and they must have really changed it to make sure that they didn't find what they were looking for here, because I don't even remember anything coming close to this from the first movie. But who knows? I guess that's it. As I said, great movie. If you were ever invested, go see it. If you were not invested but kind of just want to like see some good fantasy action, go see it. It was really just good, and I just loved it. But yeah, if you weren't a fan, if you're just kind of like, when is this gonna over? I kind of feel like you might as well not bother, because if you're not emotionally invested in this, in what's happening to Severus Snape, what's happening to the Weasley twins, what's happening to Ginny, Ron, and Hermione, Harry, yeah, everybody, if you're not emotionally invested in at least one character, I kind of feel like you might as well not bother. And that's it. I'm probably gonna go to bed soon. Night.